break it down. But my goal today is that you walk away with actions to
What just
fix
happened?
your calendar so that lead generation makes you productive. You're not mistaking movement for achievement. All right, Allison and Anna, we're good. Okay, cool. So I own a team. We have Homes by TLC, and we have 9 people on our team between operations team and agents. We're in the Georgia and South Carolina areas, and we do residential and commercial. So that's why that referral partner link is there. If you have any commercial or Georgia, let us know. Um, so here I want to show you guys an example of a couple calendars, right? Because I know that we have team agents, we have team leaders, and then we also have solo agents, and things are going to work different for everybody. So this is not a one-stop shop by any means. I'm here for questions. I know Allison's here for questions too at the end. So here is an example of what we're going to break down. This is my literal calendar. Now, I pulled it from June so that you didn't see all the rearranging, erasing, and replacing the real stuff. This is time blocked. So you could pull my calendar up in May 2028 and it would look just like this because
Taylor,
I
should
time.
we be seeing something right now? I have a blank
I
screen.
was
Sorry, I
just
didn't mean
about
to
to
cut you
say
off.
that.
Thank you for saying something.
Sorry.
Yeah, I saw your screen earlier, but now all I see is like
Yeah.
one large black, like dark black thing. So let me just restart it, Taylor. Sorry.
Okay, cool. That's okay. Thank you for saying something.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I just have this toggled because Allison was at my computer. So I was like, maybe
Ah!
I clicked the weird button. You should be able to share again. I'm sorry about that, Taylor,
Okay,
because we were
let's
all set up
try
and ready to
again.
go.
How about now?
There we
Yeah,
go.
that worked.
Yay! Okay, so there's the referral partner, Homes by TLC, Taylor Lomprez. Now you know me. Here is an example of what I was talking about. So you can pull me up in 3 years, and this is what my calendar looks like because I am very much a plug and play. If I'm calling somebody, I want to know where they're going to go on my calendar at all times, even if they're 2 years out. I say, perfect. How's May 14th at 1 o'clock in 2028? Okay. So we're going to break all this down. But because we have team agents, team leaders, and solo agents, here's another example. If you're just starting out, and you don't have that many appointments, that's okay too. Your calendar is going to look very different. So there's two different, this is a brand new solo agent's calendar that she's created compared to the one I just showed you is my personal calendar. So we're going to break all this down and we'll see it again at the end. Um, the biggest thing here is as real estate agents, it's so easy to be like, it's Wednesday. I wake up every day unemployed. What am I going to do? And you get a call. And that buyer wants to go out in 15 minutes because she just saw a sign on the road. Should you be available in 15 minutes to show that buyer? Yes or no? Nods are fine. Thumbs are fine. Should you be available in 15 minutes because somebody saw a sign on the road? No, you should not. Because you just woke up, it's 9 a.m., you should be lead generating for more leads. So instead, you're going to say, I'm available at 1 o'clock today. How is that for you? Okay, because you need to plug and play her in. So do not operate your schedule by mood. Don't make your prospecting optional. When you wake up and everyone has their different opinion, different way it works for them, right? Once the clock hits noon, I can't lead generate. I don't know what happens in my brain, but if I don't call 50 people before noon, you're lucky that I call one afternoon because my mood is like pumped in the morning and then goes down. So that's why I put all my appointments in the afternoon and all my lead generating in the morning. So my lead generation is not optional. That's where that's coming from. We're not going to let clients control our day. We just gave that example. You're going to see the different colors in my calendar because if it's a low dollar task, it's going to be the color black. So if you have kids and you're running errands and somebody needs soccer cleats, you're not going to do that in your lead generation time. That is not your available time to do that. That is not an open time. That is an appointment. Um, you're going to see an hour of errands or an hour of emails. It's going to be black. That's where I'm going to fit all my errands in. And then again, don't mistake movement for achievement is a huge one because a lot of times agents are so busy. We're so busy. We don't have time for anything. We're not so busy. Are we busy or are we succeeding? And do we not have time or are we not prioritizing time? So these are all things I want you to think about as you're creating your calendar. And at the beginning of real estate, we think it's cool to be a yes man, right? You don't have to be a yes man. Choose in your workday what is your highest dollar activity and what can you say yes to? What do you get to say yes to? So I don't say yes to most anything. I said yes to this because it started at 8:30. My lead gen starts at 9. And so I'm going to jump right into lead generation right after this. Otherwise, if I teach this class again, and I teach it in a couple market centers, if I teach this class again, it starts at noon. It's either before 9 or afternoon because I protect that time. We don't have a lead problem. A lot of agents are like, I don't know where to get my next lead. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You've taken all the classes, you've taken all the education, you know where to get your next lead. You're just literally not putting it on your calendar and making yourself do it as an appointment. So we're going to fix that calendar today. So it starts at the beginning of the week. On Sundays, you're going to look through your calendar and say, what moves revenue this week? What's my highest dollar producing activity? You're going to hear me say the phrase lead generation so much. Now, notice I'm not saying lead follow up. Following up with leads is super important, but we have to go out and get the leads. We have to call the leads. I don't care if your lead generation is for sale by owners, expireds, past clients, team given leads. I don't care what it is, but however your database is organized, you have to outgo the calls during lead generation time and find those leads. So we're going to make those appointments on Sundays. We're going to look at our super hot buyers and make sure we're calling them. We're going to reset our priorities and make sure that I don't have grabbing soccer cleats at 11:30 on a Wednesday. That needs to move to 12:30. And then personal commitments. We're going to talk about the Big Rock example here in a second. Your personal commitments are very, very important. But if you don't put them in the right time slots, you're not going to be 2 feet in. And you have to be where your feet are. We all know that. We've all heard that. You have to be present. And you can't be present if you're staying on your phone. So our goal is that you're working so hard in your appointment slots that when you get to your personal commitments, you're not stressing that you haven't answered your phone because you knew you just called for 2 or 3 hours. So protect that time. My non-negotiables are lead gen before email. It's so easy for realtors to get into our email and answer the random questions and work through a transaction, right? If you're on a team, that's great. Let your transaction coordinator do that. If you're not on a team, add that part to your calendar. If you don't feel clean and ready for the day because of your email by your lead generation time, then make an email block in the morning. Clean up your emails in the morning, but once that lead generation time starts, you're done with your email. Because too many times I find myself scrolling through emails and be like, okay, what's important? Oh, I can answer this person real quick. The real quick emails, the 1 minute emails, turns into 30 minutes. How many calls could you have made in 30 minutes? So you have to do your calendar when you said you're going to do it, clean up your email, and then be done with it until that calendar block pops up. So we talked about Sunday night planning. Let's talk a little bit more about the family commitments, the personal commitments. Who's heard of the Big Rock example? Anybody heard the Big Rocks? Couple, one. Okay, cool. So real quickly, the Big Rock example, say you have a fishbowl and you have big rocks, you have pebbles, you have sand, and you have water. If you take that fishbowl and you put the sand in first, you fill it all the way to the top. Are those big rocks, the pebbles, and the water going to fit? They're not. That fishbowl is full of sand. There's no room for anything else. But if we start with our big rocks, which is your kids, your family, your vacation, if you put those big rocks in there first, and then the little bitty pebbles, and then the sand, and then the water, it all fits. But if you start with anything other than your big rocks, it's not all going to fit. So when you take all those classes that are like, plan your 4 vacations a year first, and you're like, no way. What if I have Joe and Sally coming into town and they want to buy a $2 million house? That's great on the what ifs, but you can't what if yourself. You've got to get your big rocks in there first. So part of the Sunday planning is the sports, the dinner date with your husband, boyfriend, whatever it is. You have to make sure that your personal stuff is in there first so that when someone calls for an appointment, you plug it into the appropriate spot. And so after I've looked at my whole week, I really protect my energy morning. So I have two examples here because everyone lives their energy morning very differently. So, what brings you energy? Spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, and then business. And then business. That's very important. So, here's my example. If I get up at 5 a.m. and I do all these things, my day is way more successful. But my drunk monkey, my limiting belief, is still saying, well, maybe I could use another hour of sleep and then I'll be more ready for the day. If you're really being real with yourself, it's opposite. Because if I don't get up and have my full 16 ounces of water, stretch, pick up my house, feel clean for the day, pray, brain dump in my journal, and then I do one random project in the morning. I personally don't work out in the morning, doesn't make me get up, but that doesn't give me energy. I do my workouts in the afternoon, that brings back that energy. But the energy morning is so, so, so important. That can be planning. That anything off of your smartphone and not on your laptop is what I recommend putting in your energy morning. You're feeling ready for the day. You're doing what you need to get ready for the day. And if you skip that energy morning, your day is going to go very different. So you'll see the yellow on the bottom right, energy morning, 5 to 6. Even that goes on my calendar because I see it day after day that that's what's happening that morning. And then part of that morning, I end like 5:58. I fill this out because I've seen all the journals. I've seen all the ideas of print this, do that, add your water in your agenda book. So I created my own because I'm like, I can't find one book that has everything. So I've created this sheet on how I work, how me and my team work, and I've printed 100 of these and I put them in a binder. So don't think that you have to go off of a template. Create your daily agenda, what it should look like for you, fill it out every morning and stick to it. So I was being really bad with my numbers. I knew I had multiple listings, but I didn't know where they were. I knew we had multiple under contracts, but I didn't know the volume that all of them added up to. So I see those numbers every single day. I add my hot buyers, my hot sellers, how I'm going to win the day. The times are over here on what brain dump think I should be doing once I've looked at my Google Calendar, and then I track. So we have fancy systems for all of this, right? We have our CRM, we have our Google Sheets tracker. But this is what I needed to put it all on paper to say, okay, if I don't get X done, this is going to ruin my day. And so that's how my win the day and priority to-do list came about. So I challenge you to take that action item and write down everything you want to see every single morning and then brain dump on that so that you know when you get to the end of your day, whether that's 4, whether that's 5, whether you turn off your phone at 7, up to you, what are you going to say, yes, today was a success? And that's what this sheet is for me. That's just simple Google Sheet. So take a look at that. See if you want to recreate that. I talked about protecting your lead generation. I lead generate 9 to 12. That's my strongest time. I have a lot of past clients. That's when my commercial clients come in. They work, I work. I choose not to call before 9 unless requested. And then game on. They're on my list to call before 8 a.m., right? Some clients like that. But the biggest thing here is outbound calls. So you're calling, you're dialing. 50 is your goal. You make 50 dials and then you get an incoming call. If you answer that incoming call, you are thrown off your dial plan. So when I lead generate, I go on do not disturb. Because if I've outbound call, they do not answer, I move on to the next outbound call. And I always get the question, well, what if Jim calls you back? That's great. Jim will be there at 12 o'clock when I do my follow-ups and I check my incoming calls because he knows that I've called. I know that he called back and now we agree to talk to each other. But if I take that incoming call, if I get on Jim's time, I no longer have his CRM up. I'm no longer organized and ready for that conversation because I've called 10 people after him. So I want to control those incoming calls. So that is not within the lead generation hours. Appointment set, that's huge, right? If you don't know how many appointments you need that week, you really need to go through an econ model and understand how many appointments you need to set, hold, and convert in order to hit your goals. Because if you're just hoping for an appointment a week, that might not even be able to hit your goals. Your goals might be too high, and one appointment a week is never going to get you there. So get out whatever econ model you use, and figure out how many appointments set you need to add to your calendar. My goal is 4 seller appointments a week and 1 buyer because I have a team and they get the rest of the buyers. But that was the biggest thing for me because I had like 2 seller appointments and hopefully a buyer appointment on my calendar at one point, and I was not hitting my goals. And so once we broke that down, it helped a lot. Social scrolling, I don't have to talk to you guys about that. If you are working, do not social scroll. What we're going to do is we're going to add social media in our calendars to where it gives you the right to be on social media because you're going to like 5, comment 5, DM 5. Okay. That's a separate piece of your calendar. That is not in your lead generation hours. Here's my personal tracker. Once I've lead generated for 3 hours, which I have set alarm for, and I'm a procrastinator peer. I will call 5 people and say, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. So I'll go out in the lobby and I'll walk and 20 minutes later, I come back to my office and attempt to start again. So what I've done for myself is I set an alarm every hour and I cannot get up until that alarm goes off. And while this tracker, I fill out this kind of tracker at the end of every day, and this is how I keep my numbers. Dials, connects, sets. And then helds and add to my CRM are in there as well. I just tally them throughout my lead generation, make sure I get to it, and at the end of the day, I fill this out. And then it gives me my ratio between how many contacted to dials, how many of those contacts made appointments set, and then it goes on from there. So you have to track yourself because I'm sure a lot of us are, if anyone's ever taken the DISC profile, which I also love to teach too, if you're a high D, you're very driven and you love the challenge. And so anytime that you can make a task-oriented checkoff list is going to help you a lot in lead generation. Another way that I always, from the top of my mind, wake up and feel not unemployed is looking at my hot buyers and sellers. And these are always my immediate touches. If you're calling someone hot, if they're tagged in your database as hot, you should touch them every single day. And if they get annoyed that you're touching them every single day, you're calling or texting, emailing them something every single day, they're not actually hot. So be honest with yourself on who is hot on your schedule. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels and wasting your time when you could just work on hot separately compared to warm and cold. When you have your database and you live by your database, that brain is going to feel so calm because we're going to put notes and tasks in there. And my agents they push back on it all the time. They're like, well, I call who, is top of mind or when I'm driving. That's fine. Please call people who are top of mind. But when you lead generate, you should be able to wake up, get on your database, and look directly who's in your tasks to call that day. So organize your database. So we've talked a ton about lead generation. So now you guys know how important that is, right? We can sell a great amount of real estate, but we can't sell that real estate until we know who we're calling, what we're talking about. So that's why I spent so much time there. So on the calendar, you'll see here in my database, my birthdays and my anniversaries pop up. Don't miss those. That's not a small thing. When it's someone's birthday, you call them. And if you're scared to call them and you only text them, stop it. Call them. It's their birthday. People like calls on their birthday. You're not bothering them. You're not one of 1,000. If you're calling at 9 a.m. and doing this first thing, they love to hear your voice. They say, holy smokes, I can't believe my real estate agent was one of the first calls on my birthday. It's huge. Get it on your calendar. Daily, they pop up in our database. Monthly, they pop up on our calendar to send cards. So on the 15th of every month, I have a recurring slot on my calendar to say send email to next month's birthday. So they're going to get a happy birthday card at some point in the month of their birthday, but on their birthday, I am calling them. If you have, depending on what your lead lever is, right? Your lead generation, how you're going to get new clients. By the way, stay in your joy zone. If for sale by owners are not your joy zone, don't do it. There's 1,000 things to do. Go do something you love and do it really well. The problem is if people like hosting events, you can be great at hosting events, but if you don't do events, you're just lying to yourself. Okay? If you like hosting events, go host an event and get some clients. You know what to do for lead gen, go do it. If you're doing that, pop buys, events, home anniversaries, whatever you're doing, block it off in your calendar so that it's not only saved for that time, but it also challenges you to say, "Oh, I told myself that I'm going to do that, so I need to do that." And that looks different in so many different ways depending on how you're creating that relationship. So here's an example of your basic and then what I
Hey
shared as
Siri.
all right. The example is lead gen 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 conversations a day. So there's a difference in dials and connects or conversations. You can dial as much as you want as long as you get your 10 conversations. Okay. Some days it might take you 10 calls for 10 people to answer. You're probably calling your family and your friends, right? Maybe you're calling your past clients and only 50% of them answer. It's going to take you 20 dials to get 10 conversations. If you're calling expireds and for sale by owners, it might take you 50 calls to get 10 conversations. The most important is the conversations, 10 a day at least. And then after that, how many appointments did you set from that? And then how many closings? And then we're going to track it, of course. So jumping into the colors of the calendar, not everyone works by color, but the amount of things that our team puts on our calendar, we've recolored everything and the importance. So mine is lead generation is green. My buyer appointments are purple. My listing appointments are orange. Personal morning and evening is yellow. And if it's operations, admin, meeting with my director of ops, meeting with our virtual assistant, running errands, anything that will not bring me immediate money is going to be black. Because if it needs rescheduled, then I can do so. So here's an example of how to do that. We use G Suite, so Gmail and Google Calendar. And on the right, you can see that we all share our calendars with each other. Okay. We have transactional for our TC. We have listing strategy for our listing coordinator. We have TLC for all of our team things. But pink is my calendar. Pink is my working day. And over here is Kelsey shares, Kevin shares, Lindsay shares, Amy shares. But what you're going to do, if I want something like I was telling you, my appointments over here on the left, you're going to keep it on your calendar, but you're going to change the color. Because if everything was pink, I would think that going to a BNI lunch was super, super important, but it's not. If a seller wants that appointment, BNI, Business Networking International, is getting kicked out for the lunch period because a seller wants that piece. So I encourage you to change the colors of your things so that it gets through your brain in a different manner rather than just saying, oh, I have a listing appointment. No, I have a listing appointment and I'm going to kill it and I'm going to plan for it. So change those colors on your calendar. So here's one example for, because mine that I'm going to show you next, we'll jump through, talks a lot about appointments. But if you're just getting started, this is a really good example for a new agent because you have more social media time, right? You have lead gen separately from lead follow-up. Little bit more lunch because you're not ready for the moving. Sometimes I skip lunch and that's okay. But this is just one small example. And then this new agent has role play every single morning, which is huge. And then they've added an open house. And then here's my calendar. So let's break down everything we just learned and what my real calendar looks like. So you'll notice green is lead gen. We've learned that. Let's start with Tuesday through Friday. LG is lead generation. CT is my database. And I'm telling myself how many dials, connects, and sets I'm going to get that day. So I know who I'm calling my database. On Wednesdays, I'm calling my super hot people separately from emailing and texting every single day. So on Wednesdays, I'm calling my super hot people. Thursdays, I have more time. So I'm doing 50 dials. working towards 25 connects, and I've got a lot more connects, so I'm getting more sets. And then on Fridays is when I call for sale by owners and expireds. You'll notice that I have emails in here in the middle, right? And I have social media at the top, my energy morning, my kids. And then on Tuesdays is when I like to go out with buyers. And when someone schedules that appointment, I just put their name there. So it's BA-Joe Smith. And I put everything in the description. And over here is when I have all my seller appointments and I prep like I'm studying for a college exam right before. So I always add that prep time. So I have my listing appointments here, my buyer appointments here. You'll see my coaching on Tuesdays, YouTube batching. I can do YouTube pretty quickly. So I only save 30 minutes for it. So I batch a bunch of YouTubes in that amount of time with a script. And then I work out and then we have sports in the afternoon. So on Mondays I take for my husband and I, and we plan business. We own a couple businesses, and so that's where we've decided that we are going to breathe in a clean house with no kids and no calls. Whatever day that is for you, that could be a Saturday morning, that could be a Friday morning. You need to take a day for your mental energy. Otherwise, you will burn out. Real estate is so easy to burn out. I don't want any of you to burn out. So find your day, take it, calendar it, and make sure everyone knows it. Because if you do not share that you are doing this part of your week, then people will not respect it. So stay on it. And then on Mondays, I do add my commercial lead generation there. So the truth is, if you don't have a system, you will not scale. And a lot of team agents or solo agents say, well, I don't want to scale to 100 sales per year. That's fine. You won't scale to 18 to 24 sales per year. You have to stay organized, and it's your calendar, not your clients. And I want to be respectful of the time, so I won't fully go through the highlighter example. But if you haven't read the book 12-Week Year or done the workbook, I really recommend it because it's going to teach you what you need to leverage and what is actually income producing. All right, let's unmute and hit me with questions.
Who's got questions? That was so good, Taylor.
So good.
Thank you.
So tactical.
Isn't it funny? Sorry, I'm coming. It's so funny because it's all the same basics we talk about, right? Like 12-week year, it's the putting it on the calendar. It's all the systems. And you just said it, that systems don't scale. And I looked at Anna when you said this, I said, it doesn't matter if you don't want to scale to 100. You won't scale to 18 to 24. We both looked at each other and
You won't scale to 6.
You're not going to get to 6.
Right.
You're going to burn out and fry out. And that's why people leave the business and they're like, oh, it was just so hard. It's really not. It's so simple. It's just, you just have to do it. It's simple, not easy, right? Just put the system in place and follow the system. That's the only way you can get through this business. So that's amazing.
And I was talking to an agent the other day, not on my team, just within our brokerage. And she goes, I've shown this buyer 70 homes. I'm like, 70 homes? What couple communities are you looking at that add up to 70 homes anyway? And I said, let me see your calendar. Her calendar was open. She's always available. Always available. No wonder you've shown 70 homes because you say yes every single time. If you organize that and tell your clients, no, I cannot go in 15 minutes. I will see you Wednesday at 4 o'clock. By then they'll have 4 more to see and you'll be organized with the documents.
Though is
Good.
I think the thing with that though is a lot of people on this are going to hear like, oh yeah, I don't have to show when they want. No, you're a customer service representative. You can do that, Taylor, because you have set the precedence with them. When you pick up the phone, your emotional intelligence is high. You've asked the questions. They trust that you are the professional. You don't call your doctor and say, hey, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. Like, no, because your doctor has gained your trust and your respect and all of the things. So any agent that's hearing like, yeah, you're right, I only work when I want to work. That's not what she's saying. She's done all of the stuff in the beginning to set that rapport up with that client, that the client trusts her and understands. And it's not just I'm not showing when you want to show, I'm not available. It's a system because you have a business.
Exactly. Good point. And a lot of even our team is like, well, I'm not available then. What do I do? I say, well, what was your LP Mama first ever phone questionnaire conversation? Did you recommend a time already? Did you answer the phone at 11 p.m. at night or 5 a.m. in the morning? Set the expectations. I'm not saying do not answer your phone if you're on online leads, because that is the way that is set up. And sometimes you have to do that. But you have got to set the expectation that says, no, I can't go at 7:30 a.m., but how's 9 a.m.? How's noon
Well,
tomorrow?
I think that what you're saying here is that, well, and I typed in the chat, like availability can't be the superpower. Like that cannot be your value proposition, availability. And if your value proposition is in skill, then you get to move away from the availability. If you don't, though, have the skills developed and you don't have the reps in, like that's where I think the weak link becomes, is the agents do rely on availability being the superpower. That's what makes you a differentiator in the market.
Mhm.
And it may work for a little while, guys, but there comes a point where, I mean, when I was first licensed, and I'm sure anyone on this call Taylor will say the same thing, we did not wake up and start the business this way. We're just trying to help you get to the other side a little faster. But like availability cannot be the superpower. You have to be able to identify what is your unique value proposition, what's your selling proposition. It cannot be availability if you want to scale. It cannot.
Yep.
Cannot.
And Taylor, you said LTP Mama. I was going to say that when I was talking as well. It's interesting. If you do LTP Mama correctly, the client's not going to want to start that process over with another agent. So yeah, maybe they'll go into an open house or they'll call an agent because they want to see something, but you know them. You know their dog's name, their mom's name, when, where, why, how. They don't want to start that all over again, because if you do it correctly and you have multiple conversations systematically, you know everything about them. They love you. They know you. They trust you. That's the point of LTP Mama. Every client should go through LTP Mama, and Anna trains us as well. Sometimes you might have a client in your system and in your funnel for 8 months. Are they sales qualified? Do we need to LTP Mama them all over? Because you might have LTP Mama them 8 months ago, but maybe some things have changed. Maybe their
Mhm.
motivations changed. Are they get, do they need a mortgage? Like, what is their time frame? It's all changed. Start
Mhm.
over. And
Yep.
we've got to sales qualify them again if the lifeline of that, the life cycle of that lead has maybe something has changed in that system.
Yep. Exactly.
No, this is great.
I have a question. So, what do you recommend doing when you're getting real-time tours from Zillow, things like that, that people want to see things at a certain time?
Yeah. So when you do online leads, you might need to lead gen in the afternoon. So no problem whatsoever, right? We get an online lead and say it's Wednesday morning. They want to go out Wednesday morning. So you just replace your appointment holder for Wednesday afternoon and you put it Wednesday morning. But you do not delete that lead generation. You pull that lead generation down to the afternoon. So you can replace absolutely no problem. You just have to stick to it.
I have a question. Do you try to reschedule that real-time tour lead to the afternoon or just automatically switch it? Because I feel like that sets the expectation that you're available when they ask.
Yep. So with our online leads, Zillow is an interesting one, right? Because they see a calendar on there and they see that they can go the 17th at 9 a.m. and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. So just because you have an online lead, I don't care the source, you still have to LTP Mama them, right? Once you have all that, they're like, oh, wow, they're asking real professional questions. So that when you do say, let me work with the listing agent and make sure that that is a good time. I do have another appointment. Do you mind going at noon instead of 9? Most of the time, you've been on the phone at this point for 12 minutes. They're going to say yes, no problem. So you attempt to set that expectation, absolutely, and it's worked multiple times for our team, but you can't just be like, "Well, I'm not available, at 9. Can you go at noon instead?" You have to have the full conversation prior so that you can prove your professionalism because yes, the ultimate goal is that they see that expectation from the get-go. And then per your question, if they say, no, I'm not available at noon, I'm only available at 9:30, say, no problem. I'll see if I can move some things around. I'll get it scheduled and I'll give you a call right back. How's that sound? We get off the call. I text and email immediately. We have templates to text and email immediately so that they see it dives into our professionalism again. So you can replace no problem. Try one time, but after an 8-minute phone call of your scripts.
That was good. Thank you.
What else?
Taylor, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you are in your lead gen time, do you set yourself a timer for how long you are allowed to stay on one phone call if you've got a conversation going? Just
Great
curious.
question. Yes. Because if you know the disc profile, fun fact, I'm a super high D and long conversations just throw me over the edge. And so you got to have your dialogues ready, your post-it notes on your computer, whatever it is. You got to have that conversation of, you know what, I'm about to walk into another appointment. Do you mind if I call you tomorrow at 10 a.m. so we can continue this conversation? Because most of the time, if it gets past 8 minutes, they're just rambling anyway. Or if you are actually still answering deep questions towards their home buyer search, then you're good to stay on it a little bit. But I mean, both of us lose interest and you just start talking in circles. So yes, my timer is 8 minutes overall. That's just in my head because my alarm is going for lead gen in general. But I will absolutely tag them in my database as talker. And it's an orange little tag and it just says talker. And so I don't call those people during my lead gen. I put them on a separate list. And when I get in my car for my 30-minute drive, that's when I call that person. So I just put it in a little bit of a different time slot if I can control it. What else? Anything else?
Everyone feel like you got a little something out of this morning?
I have to say, I think it's crazy timing because I was just talking about this class that you did last week, Taylor, and how I was sad I missed it. But if it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen. So this is just really good timing. I thought you were going to be talking about disc, which is super exciting too. But thank you so much for sharing this.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm happy to teach disc too. And I'm under the impression you guys do this every single Wednesday at 8:30. So you should absolutely have a 8:30 to 9:15 um, pink or whatever your color is time block so it doesn't get taken over. The Zoom link should be in your description so that you don't have to check in. You don't have to do anything. You just go in and click that link. It needs to be on your calendar every single week. It's short education. Be here every week.
Amazing. All right, well, let's get Taylor so she can go make her calls because that's
Yes.
important. Next week, Nina Gervais is going to be on. She is amazing, talking about some mindset stuff. She's doing some coaching and development work. She's brilliant. So I'm excited to have her. After that, we've got some folks coming to talk about working from the investment side of things. I know we cover that a lot, but you guys know like 30% of transactions last year investor driven, and we're not talking big corporations. We were talking about a lot of us on the call holding one, two, three properties individually. So I think that's something that we got to keep going into to get you guys comfortable with those conversations. So 2 more weeks of great content coming up for those of you headed to Charleston. See you soon. Happy Wednesday. Thanks again, Taylor. You're amazing.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Bye, guys. Thank you
Bye.
so much.